This has been the worst rabbit breeding year ever. And it's not because I don't know what I'm doing in the sense of getting them bred or, setting them up correctly. Sometimes when you're in it long enough, you just start to recognize it's just a year going bad. And so I've talked to enough breeders this year, but also in years past, to just acknowledge that sometimes there are issues and you got to figure out how to work through them sometimes. And that's what I'm going to walk you through today is the issues I'm running into, the things that I'm testing, ways that you can test things out for yourself, as well as just hopefully making you feel like you're not alone. So come step into my office. Okay. Honestly, actually, my office is just a kitchen table. But anyways, jokes aside, we had a couple of litters early in the year that did okay. That had, 4 or 5. For French Labs, that's normal. But beyond those litters that were earlier in the year, we still had failed breedings around those ones. We also, then throughout the summer, almost the entire summer, we went with no litters successful at all, or it was a single kit or 2, and then the moms either bailed or they were either, the one that was kind of stupid was the mom was feeding it just fine, but she decided to stay seated in the nest box because it was cozy, didn't get out of it, and she squished it. So it was just so many, one problem after another. All of that had happened with animals that were completely successful before, both the bucks and the does. And so it wasn't a lack of experience on their part. And so when it starts to be something in that situation, you start to look at the whole system, the entire picture of going, all right, something as a whole either isn't right or we have to fix. So one of the things that really made me pause was talking to other breeders, both on my Facebook page and in person, either at shows or things like that, to where it was just, we are all having issues. We're all struggling with getting litters to take. And like someone made the point on the Facebook page earlier in the week was that we're all in different locations. We don't all use the same feed, water, setup location. Obviously something isn't right beyond those things, just to avoid conspiracy theory type things, is that some years are just bad. And I don't get into anything beyond that. I know there's other things, especially in the homestead world, that people have suspicions about. I'm not really concerned about it because we can't stop it. So we just have to figure out what's wrong and what would help combat it, rather than just sitting with what isn't working and just letting it go and go, well, it's just bad. So whether you're producing rabbits for your homestead, for your feeding them, or you're showing them, or you just enjoy them, we are not pouring money into them to get nothing out of it. Right or wrong, what your opinions are on like that, doesn't matter. We're not doing this for no results, so we've got to fix it. So one of the things that I've always done when I notice a problem that needs fixing is that I will slow down and go back almost to nature. Now, I'm the furthest thing from a woo-woo type person, but I also acknowledge that all of our livestock came from some form of natural breedings at one point or another. I go back and look at how do they naturally respond to things, what is their signals of nature as far as like resources, and we have enough to produce babies, things like that. And so I always look at those things and go, how does nature talk to them? And how does the animals communicate with each other in order to get what result we're looking for? And so that has always helped me boil it down into potential solutions. So the very first thing I decided to fix and look at that was potentially a problem was lighting. So my rabbits have always been in this lean-to style setup for over a decade, like probably at least 15 years probably, until we came to this property and I actually had a barn, which I was excited about. And so I turned one of the horse stalls into my nursery stall, to where the bred does go and then where the current litters are as well. But the problem with that being is that even if the doors are left open, being in the stall, it's still a lot darker than the aisleway is, but also it's still darker than if they were out in the lean-to hutches. And so my suspicion is that I was indicating to them it's wintertime all the time. And so this kind of goes back to my logic with chickens a little bit, is that the rabbits and the animals and all of that, they don't know that it's wintertime. It's the lack of light that tells them resources are low. then, it's potentially colder. And so that does tell them a little bit, but the light is what tells them that it's getting more into that winter time. It's not so much the cold. And then that also tells them that resources are low as far as food, but that turns them into more of a target for other animals as well. So predators are at a higher alertness, or there's not as much plenteous out there for them. So they become, wanting to be eaten more or potentially get eaten more. So I was like, okay, we've got to fix this light issue. So what I ended up doing was I used a chicken heat lamp situation. The clamp, they have the clamps on there. And then I do take the cord and, wrap around the bars a little bit to keep it up. But I put a 75-watt house bulb into it, an LED one, not the heat lamp bulb. There's no point in that. But this gave them enough light to indicate that it's more daylight out all the time. And so I put it on a 75-watt bulb on a house timer that has little pegs that you pop up, and I have it set to be on for 14 hours a day. And so that has been on for almost 3 weeks now. And I left it on for at least 2.5 weeks before I decided to breed the girls. And the ones that were in there before I even bred them, I did notice a lift in temperament. They were a little bit more like spunky a little bit. So I do think that the light has improved things. Unfortunately, the first 2 litters are still bred, so we won't know for a couple more weeks. But the first week of February is about when this potentially could come to light. So we'll see after that what the numbers look like. Now, there were some other things that I noticed that other breeders did that I didn't do that were seeming to have better results. But the reason I didn't jump into completely changing the feed or adding supplements a lot to them was because I want to know what solved the problem. And as much as I would love to just throw all the solutions at it and hope that everything changes, I still want to be able to pinpoint what happened. Because if you throw, adding feed supplements to increase, productivity and viability and all of that, you don't know what the problem was. Because again, we're just guessing. So we're still having to just go with let's try what this problem could be and see if that solves and gets the results we want. The one change that I did add or reinstate was before all the litters this entire year, the good ones, the bad ones, and all of that, I was already doing adding calf Mana Pro to the adult rabbit feed. I backed it off for the young rabbits because they treat it like a kid does candy. And so I reduced it. I took it out for them. But once the rabbit hits about 4 months old, I started putting that back in. And the main reason for that was it does increase digestion. It does, or, it stabilizes digestion and improves it, keeps them eating. It's more almost like a stress, not reducer, but you give it to them in times of stress and you give it to them to keep them eating if they're going to a show, things like that. And it's an all-stock supplement. And so I had noticed early on, I started feeding it at the beginning of last year, 2025, and I didn't notice anything wrong. Now, could that have been a problem? Maybe, but considering that everyone else who doesn't even feed it was having issues too, I don't think it caused the lack in successful breedings. So I decided to add it back in with the intention that it would increase energy, it would increase, temperament and things like that, and keeping all of the animals eating their feed, especially during this time of year when things, literally we've had 60-degree days last week, and now we're back down into the 30s. So it's just such a up and down thing. So beyond that, I went back to exactly what we started with and then added the light. And so we're going to keep that consistent until these litters are born, and then we're going to see what the numbers are. And then if the numbers are back to relatively close to what I would have expected from those does at a normal season, then we do have some other feed options. But I think I probably wouldn't change anything for a while just because I want to see if it stabilizes. And why would you want to incur more expense with feed supplements and things if you don't have to? We might as well save that, that solution in the bag for if another issue comes up. But if the numbers are not what I would like, then some things that we are considering is rolled oats, black oil sunflower seeds, wheat germ oil is another one that I've been suggested or recommended through my Facebook page. So if you want to get in on the discussion, I will link the The rabbitry page is always in the description below. It's where I do sell my French flaps, but it's also one just for discussion and people to go to share their opinions and what's working and things like that. So beyond that, we won't be adding supplements right away. We'll see how things go before adding anything different. So I'm sharing this with you just to hope that it gives you a little bit of courage. If you've been struggling this year, find the solution, or you're feeling like a failure, know that people completely south of me, people to the west of me, we're Southern Ohio, so like states away, people are having issues too. So it's not just you, and it's not, you know, something wrong with your animals, especially if they've been proven before. I think we just have to keep our head up above water and keep trying things, but try one thing at a time. And sometimes the answer is just keep going, and sometimes the fix is environmental. But I want to encourage you to try one thing at a time, keep going, give it time enough to prove, and then time enough to work as well. Because we're not going to find the solution if we throw all the problems or all the solutions at the one problem at one time. So keep going, keep your head up. I don't know how this experiment is going to go, but I will definitely keep doing update videos on this and kind of share what I'm learning in the wild, what I see other people saying is working for them, because we can get through this issue, no matter what you're producing rabbits for. So if it does work, I will let you know. I'll let you know the next moving steps forward. And if we're trying something else, then we'll update you on that as well. So if you're trying to raise rabbits a little bit less emotionally and a little bit more systematically, and trying to produce results, whether you're showing or they're for your homestead meat or whatever the case may be, you are welcome here. Please subscribe and share a video with a friend or in a Facebook group, that wherever it helped you, and get the word out to where you can just help other people and help people figure out what their problems are, and sharing this resource with them. I'll see you in the next video.